Welcome to JGTCR, I'm Cope, and today we are tuning the Aston Martin V8 Vantage S. Let's get into it. In factory trim, the V8 Vantage S feels lethargic, cumbersome, and slow at the beginning, but once we get used to how the vehicle drives, then we get faster. The factory suspension is a bit sloppy. This makes it difficult to turn in and steer through corners. There is a heavy understeer element that we must contend with. This makes the V8 Vantage S always want to go wide and make a little extra pocket money mowing the lawn. Even when we are being extremely cautious, the outskirts keep calling to this vehicle. The acceleration and power delivery seems lazy and also manages to have too much torque. So even though it seems as if we're going slow, the tail still wants to step out. When we are cornering, the understeer we face can very quickly turn into oversteer, and the tail end can step out at some very unusual times. We can exit a turn with the foot flat to the floor, and when the vehicle is almost completely straight, it decides it wants to start a drift session. Very strange indeed. The brakes work very well as long as we modulate our input. Being too aggressive on the brakes tends to lock up the front, causing understeer. So it is best to ease on the brakes and not go 100% often. Let's collect our time. 7 minutes 34.3 seconds. It's tune time. This V8 Vantage did not want to be tuned. Maybe it was just a bad tune day, but nothing would stick. So while this will do for now, I'm sure a retune is in the near distant future. Let's hit the track. When completely modified and tuned, the Aston Martin V8 Vantage S turns into an emo kid. There is not a thing in the world that anyone can do to make it happy. The tail end seems way too excited to break loose at any opportunity it can, and it still has a strange way of wheel spinning at the most awkward times. Exiting a corner on full throttle, no problems. But in a dead straight line in a high gear, out of nowhere we're fighting for traction. This can be defeated if we use a mid to mid-high RPM while searching for good lap times. It does reduce the wheel spin, however, it also feels like we're holding back. And as we know, that just ain't racing. The suspension is far better set up for turning and maneuverability, but it does leave a bit to be desired when it comes to stopping the tail end from stepping out. The brakes have improved and are now very solid. We can even brake and turn at the same time to a degree, but it is not without its limits. Let's jump ahead and collect our time. 6 minutes 23.9 seconds. And now the drift tune. As with the race setup, our drift tune is a little wild. We threw a bunch of different combos at it, and essentially this is what we have ended up with for now. The rear suspension is soft, our camber angle is high, and our diff settings are weak. And we have even thrown some ballast over the rear wheels to try and gain some control over the tail end. Let's take a look at how it went. From the outside looking in, the Aston Martin V8 Vantage S looks like a decent drift car. And to some degree, this is true. It slides around the track and throws out clouds of smoke, but there is something that just doesn't sit right with this vehicle. There is an air of defiance that is constantly present while drifting the V8 Vantage S. It is subtle, but nonetheless impactful when it comes to drifting. When settled into the drift, the tail end wants to just slightly keep creeping its way around. And the steering is very moody, going from understeer to gripping properly on a whim. These aspects make this Aston Martin a very moody drift car, hence the emo kid reference. As we can see, these aspects can be managed if we are focused and remain vigilant in maintaining control. And while it can be done, it really shouldn't be this hard. That's what she said. So a retune is definitely on the books. But for now, these tunes for the Aston Martin V8 Vantage S are manageable, so they will have to do. The Aston Martin V8 Vantage S seems to be a rather strange vehicle. In factory trim, it feels lethargic and like it's always dragging its feet. Its handling characteristics are very moody, and it chooses to wheel spin and drift at times that seem to defy logic. When completely modified and tuned, these issues are amplified, and it seems no matter how we choose to adjust our tune, these issues are here to stay. There is a marked improvement when entering the drift arena, but this emo kid continues to be defiant till the end, resulting in an awkward and sometimes unpleasant drift experience. And that's all we have for you today, so until next time, keep racing.